Ah, I actually dressed up for this video. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gunilde, and this is my series of rereading the Discworld novels. And today's, the monthly installment, and this month's installment is Wyrd Sisters. So this book honestly it surprised me just how excited I was to get to read it. Like as soon as I picked it out of the bookshelf, I was honestly surprised at just how excited I got. I was like just jittery. I was like so just happy, and I couldn't remember or figure out why until I started reading, because from the very first page it was like, oh right, this. Because if I'm honest, like I said it before and I say it again, my absolute favorite Discworld novel is The Hawkfather. I reread that one again and again and again. But I honestly feel that this is so high on my list, this might actually be my favorite, or at least a very close second. And the reason is, this book is Shakespeare through and through. This is theatre. There's so much packed in just 251 pages of a novel, and it is fantastic. So we start out on the moors of Lans. So Lans is yet another country in Ramtops, because Ramtops is where all the magic is. Well, that's the first paragraph. What we really do start with is the murder of King Wyrd of Lans. And it's clear from the get-go who the murderer is. That would be Duke, what's his name? I keep reading his name, but I can never remember what exactly it is. Duke Felmet. I'm a little embarrassed that I cannot remember the Duke's name, because it is repeated quite a few times. But this is a classic story of a power-hungry Duke and his duchess. Allusion is to a certain play that shall not be mentioned. The Scottish play. Yes. I think you know what that is. Yeah, this one that is. It's very much that play. I jingle every time I move the slightest bit. It's like, this feels so silly. But again, so we start with the murder of King Wyrd, and the main players in this story are the three witches. Because we get to meet Granny Weatherwax and Nanyok again, and this time they have formed a coven at the behest of the youngest witch, Margaret Garlic. And they form the trio. And all the tropes about witches, they just turn on their head, even when the tropes try to reassert themselves. We also do have the ghost of King Wyrd, because of course he plays a part, and that's really very Hamlet. Then we have the king's 2-year-old son, who thankfully at the beginning of the book is spirited away by faithful servants who do pay with their life. But they do manage to get the child to the witches, who entrust the child to a traveling band of actors. So the little prince is out of the way into safety, in the hands of theatre people. And then we just have this wonderful because another huge part in the story is the exploration of the kingdom itself. In a sense, this story does feature, I mean, it's Ramtops, it's Lambs, so there's so much magic about both magic that witches and wizards use. There is common magic, there's magic of the mind, and there is magic that is so ancient it predates the disc itself. And that type of magic is kind of what enables the kingdom itself to have its own sentience, its own feelings. And in a sense, Lance itself is a genius Loki, a sentient place, in a way. In a way that every single life within the kingdom forms the kingdom. So the kingdom is, I hope I'm explaining this enough, but the kingdom itself is a sentient, living, breathing creature, for lack of a better word. And the kingdom realizes that the Duke hates it. The Duke is not there for the sake of the kingdom. He doesn't care about the kingdom or the people or anything. He just wants the power. And he absolutely detests the kingdom itself. I think he's from like the plains or something. And the kingdom realizes, and it doesn't like the Duke back. Like, it does not want him there. He's not a proper king, because a king should care for its land, for his land. And because the land itself is feeling this way, it's feeling the pressure and this intense dislike, there is stress on it. That seeps into the populace, into the people, and into the witches, because they are so sensitive to what the kingdom is feeling, which causes strife within the coven. Also because one of the other big players in this is the Fool. And I absolutely adore the Fool. Like, all the concepts of the Discworld, just take all the tropes and turn them on their heads, and I love it. The Fool is from a long line of fools. His grandfather was a fool, a big fool, and his father is a fool as well. Traveling, like, there are quite a few hints throughout the text that the fool doesn't really see his father all that much, because his father travels a lot and doesn't really have the opportunity to visit the family. Also, the grandfather and the father had a furious row years and years ago. But the Fool is trained by the Fool's Guild, and if you think that sounds like such a delightful thing, it is the most depressing and austere and a horrible place for anyone to be. It's just the worst institution. Jokes and humor and gesturing is serious business. Like, there is no laughter within the Fool's Guild. And I love that concept. Like, all the fools and jesters within Shakespeare's play are kind of taken and tilted a little bit. And I love it. So, the Fool and the youngest witch, Margaret, they are the cutest. They fall in love, and their path to romance is so realistic and so sweet, and I love it. The thing with the Duke, however, is that he's very, very slowly turning 100% insane. Like, he hits the event horizon of insanity and crosses it. For example, the description of what he's doing with his right hand, the hand with which he struck the dagger into King Wyrd's, he's trying to wash off the blood. So he keeps scraping his hand, and the blood won't come off, because obviously. So the escalation of instruments that he is using to wash away the blood. Well, let's just say that he has a stump of an arm at the end, because he's literally scrubbed his hand away. So how in the world do the witches manage to push the story forward? How do they get rid of this new king, this Duke Felmet? I can't remember his name. This is embarrassing. Duke Felmet. Like, they are not prepared to wait. I mean, they already go through a single year where things slowly change, and to the worse for them and for the kingdom, and things escalate and escalate. They're not super dramatic, but the witches are not prepared to wait 10 years or 15 years for things to absolutely reach that. Like, they're no, we are not waiting for that. So they do the thing that they were not gonna do. They meddle, and they transport the entire kingdom of lands 15 years into the future by basically taking a sidestep. I love it. Like, the description of how they cast this spell is just, I love it. Which means that, you know, the 2-year-old Tom John, who was just a child when he was adopted by the traveling actors, by the traveling theatre, he is 3-year-old at that point. So the fact that Lance then jumps 15 years, or takes a sidestep around 15 years in time, that means he is about 18, 19 years old when we reach that point. Which, there is a delightful paragraph about how that doesn't really cause much of an issue in Ramtops, because there are so many places that are either a year behind or a year after. They're using different type of calendars, different type of just different ways of counting the months and years, and some years don't even have a week, a day, and afternoon. So 15 years is kind of just swept away by a logical explanation. And of course, because this is the Shakespeare book of Pratchett, this is the theatre book of Pratchett, we have the travelling troupe. And Tom John, due to the gifts that the witches do grant him, because Margaret is like, listen, we are his godmothers, we really need to do something cool with this. So they grant him 3 boons. Okay, so Margaret grants that he will make friends easily. Nanny Ogg grants that he will have, I'm paraphrasing because actually let's go with this, but he'll always remember the words, he will have a good memory. And Granny grants that let him be whoever he thinks he is, which is such a fantastic thing both for an actor or a king. There are so many fantastic things in this book. For example, in the theatre troupe there is the playwright, the dwarven playwright Wyrd, who is Shakespeare, and he is the conduit of every single fantastic, brilliant idea that strikes the disc. The problem is that he can't work with all the ideas. Like, not all ideas are fit for the disc. And there are quotes from movies and plays and just so many fantastic things in this book due to Huel and his ability to seep up all those ideas. Is just, I was like, is that play? Oh, is that movie? I love it. Now, throughout all this, the Duke has just gotten more and more insane. The Duchess, his wife, she is evil incarnate. Like, she has no conscience. She literally only sees people as things, as something to be influenced to get what she wants. A delightful evil character, and she doesn't get any better. And I have to mention, there's the standing stone that can't be counted because it will move whenever someone is looking at it contemplatingly and trying to count it. It will disappear. And another bit player that is a storm. An anthropomorphic, like it's just, I can't even say anthropomorphic storm because that doesn't quite fit, but it's a storm that has its own sentience, that is going through its own mini arc of theatre, of acting. And at the end, it comes in and plays such an important part in the ending of this book, at the ending of the play that the troupe sets up. So in the end, due to the fool putting the idea in his head, because the fool really doesn't want any more people to die, the fool suggests that the Duke and Duchess use words to counter the witches and to remake history, because the Duke is adamant that he didn't kill the king and you can prove it, but he did, but you weren't there so you couldn't see it. Even though the people of Lunch are very practical and they're like, what's a big deal? That's like the normal lifetime of a king. That dying by assassination is a normal death, a natural death for a king. But the Duke is of a different breed, and this is driving him insane. So he sends off the fool to Ankh-Morpork, because of course we need to go to Ankh-Morpork. It's Ramtops, it's Ankh-Morpork, and the Mended Drum. At the very least, we don't go to Unseen University this time. He sends the fool to go to Ankh-Morpork to hire a theatre troupe, and you can guess which one he hires. And there's this wonderful, just subtle foreshadowing, this subtle touch of certain people noticing just how similar the fool and Tom John, the prince, the actual prince, they look really similar. Like, in a certain light and from a certain angle, they are very similar in looks. So, well, the playwright and Tom John, the fantastic actor and thespian that he is, along with some of the active apprentices, they go to Ramtaps to put up this play that Wyrd writes on behest of the Duke and the Duchess. The problem with this play, however, and they are, well, rewrites it and rewrites it, and they test run it throughout the planes and other places, and the play is fine. It has all the ingredients, all the things that would usually make a play a success, but it just isn't. And people, they don't even boo the audience. They watch it in silence and then they leave in silence because the play isn't anything, and it's really causing Wyrd and the others a bit of a headache. And the thing about this play that they are setting up for the Duke is that they are basing it on what the Duke wants them to say. So instead of actual facts, because they are trying to rewrite history, false information, the Duke presents the storyline as the evil King Wyrd and the evil witches and the good Duke and the good Duchess, which we know from reading this book that is so far from the truth. And because the truth wants out, the play isn't working. And how it plays out, it's just... Also, death plays a part. Like, there is a part of the play, like the penultimate part, where death comes in to as a character in the play. He comes in to foreshadow that there will be a death, and then actual death shows up and takes the place of Death the character. So Death is playing Death, and he gets a stage fright because he's so used to most people not being able to see him. But because people are expecting to see him, there are about 200 faces that turn to see him, and he's like, I love it. I love it. And the ending, like the witches and everyone want Tom John to take the crown. He doesn't want the crown. He's an actor. So then what? So remember when I told you that people were noticing that the Fool and Tom John looked really similar to each other? Yeah, it turns out they're half-brothers. And also the Fool's actual first name that he doesn't share with anyone, but Margaret finds out early in the book because she made the love spell. His first name is Wyrd, the same as the good old previous king. Well, let's just say that there are no plot holes left. Every single storyline is neatly tied up at the end of this book. And let's just say that there is reasonable happy endings for everyone. The kingdom gets a king that appreciates it, at least, and I do think that pretty certain that he loves the kingdom in his own way. He wants the best for it. The theater troupe does continue, and let's just say that it's not the actual prince who inherits the kingdom. Let's just say that. And well, there is a lovely twist at the very end, and I'm gonna spoil it in 3, 2, 1. Yes, Tom John and the Jester or the Fool are half-brothers. They are not the sons of the king, however. The Fool's father was a very charming young man who was very popular with the ladies, including the late queen, who was often alone and rather lonely because the old king, he was away quite a lot. Yeah, they are half-brothers, but not by royal blood. But that's okay. I mean, every single royal line has to start somewhere. And that is it for this story. It was a pleasant surprise for me. I have forgotten just how much I love this book. And the fact that I can now appreciate more since I've since read Shakespeare. I read more of his work. I just love it more. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna dress up for the next one. The next one after Weird Sisters is Pyramids. I think I'll just be wearing normal clothes for that one. Oh yeah, by the way, this book also came out in 1988. Like, how many books does that make? I should have checked that. I really should have checked that. I feel like this is... Oh wait, was this 88 or 89? Yep, 88. There are so many books that came out that year. But honestly, I feel that this is the first complete, coherent, fully formed, fully fleshed out Discworld novel. it is such a good read. It is so tight. Like every single part is just tightly interwoven and no loose ends. But yes, I will thank you for watching with me this month. Hopefully there are other videos on this channel that you may possibly maybe like. Otherwise, there will be another video on the Discworld rereading series that will be Pyramids. Hopefully you will tune in then. Until then, take care. See you later. Bless bless.